What keeps us healthy and happy as we go through life? If you were going to invest now in your future-based self, where would you put your time and your energy? There was a recent survey of millennials asking them what their most important life goals were, and over 80% said that a major life goal for them was to get rich. And another 50% of those same young adults said that another major life goal was to become famous. And we're continually told to lean into work, push harder, and achieve more. We're given the impression that these are the things we need to go after in order to have a good life. Pictures of entire lives of the choices that people make and how the choices work out for them. Those pictures are almost impossible to get. Most of what we know about human life, we know from asking people to remember the past. And as we know, hindsight is anything but 20/20. We forget vast amounts of what happens to us in life, and sometimes memory is direct creative. But what if we could watch entire lives as they unfold through time? What if we could study people from the time that they were teenagers all the way into old age to see what really keeps people happy and healthy? We did that. The Harvard study of adult development may be the longest study of adult life that's ever been done. For 75 years, we tracked the lives of 724 men. Year after year, asking about their work, their home lives, their health, and of course asking all along the way without knowing how their life story was going to turn out. Studies like this are exceedingly rare. Almost all projects of the kind fall apart within a decade because too many people drop out of the study, or funding for the research dries up, or the researchers get distracted, or they die. And nobody moves on throughout the field, but through a combination of luck and the persistence of several generations of researchers. This study has survived. About 60 of our original 724 men are still alive, still participating in this study. Most of them in their 80s. And we are now beginning to study more than 2,000 children of these men. And I'm the fourth director of the study. Since 1938, we tracked the lives of two groups of men. The first group started in the study when it was sophomores at Harvard College. They all finished college during World War II. And then most went up to serve in the war. And the second group that were followed was a group of boys from Boston's poorest neighborhoods. Boys who were chosen for this study specifically because they were from some of the most troubled and disadvantaged families in the Boston of the 1930s. Most lived in tenements, many without heat and cold running water. When entered this study, all of the teenagers were interviewed, they were given medical exams. We went to their homes and we interviewed their parents. And then these teenagers grew up into adults who entered young ways of lives. They became factory workers and lawyers and bricklayers and doctors. One president of the United States. Some developed alcoholism, a few developed schizophrenia. Some climbed to the social ladder from the bottom on the way to the very top, and some made that journey in the opposite direction. The founders of this study would never in their wildest dreams have imagined that I would be standing here today. 75 years later, telling you that study still continues. Every 2 years, our patient and dedicated research staff call up our men and ask them if we can send them yet one more set of questions about their lives. Many of the inner city Bostonmen ask us, "Why do you keep wanting to study me? My life just isn't that interesting." The Harvard men never ask that question. To get the clearest picture of these lives, we don't just send them questionnaires, we interview them in their living rooms. We get their medical record from their doctors. We tap their blood. We scan their press. We talk to their children. We videotape them talking with their voice about their deepest concerns. And when, about a decade ago, we finally asked the voice if they would join us as members of this study, many of the women said, it's about time. So what have we learned? What are the lessons that come from the tens of thousands of pages of information that we've generated of these lives? Well, the lesson shown about wealth or fame, working harder and harder. The clearest message that we get from 75-year study is this: good relationships keep us happier and healthier, period. We learned 3 big lessons about relationships. The first is that social connections are really good for us and that loneliness kills. It turns out that people who are connected with family, with friends, with community are happier, they are physically healthier, and they live longer than the people who are less well connected. And the appearance of loneliness turns out to be toxic. People who are more isolated than they want to be from others find that they are less happy. Their health declines earlier in midlife. Their brain functioning declines sooner and they live shorter lives than the people who are not lonely. And the sad fact is that at any given time, more than 1 in 5 Americans will report that they are lonely. And we know that you can be lonely in a crowd and you can be lonely in marriage. So, the second big lesson that we learned is that it's not the number of friends you have, and it's not whether or not you're in committed relationship, but it's quality of your close relationships that matters. It turns out that living in the midst of conflict is really bad for us health. High conflict marriages, for example, without much affection turn out to be very bad for our health, perhaps worse than getting divorced. And living in the midst of good, warm relationships is protective. Once we had followed our men on the way into their 80s, we want to look back at them at midlife and to see if we could predict who was going to grow into a happy, healthy octogenarian and who wasn't. When we gathered together, everything we knew about them at age 50, it wasn't their middle-aged cholesterol levels that predicted how they were going to grow. It was how satisfied they were in their relationships. The people who were the most satisfied in their relationships at age 50 were the healthiest at age 80. And good close relationships seem to buffer us from some of the slings and sorrows of getting old. Our most happily partnered men and women reported in their 80s, on the days when they had more physical pain, they most stayed just that happy. But the people who were in unhappy relationships, on the days when they had more physical pain, It was magnified by more emotional pain. And the third big lesson that we learned about relationships and our health is that good relationships don't just protect our bodies, they protect our brains. It turns out that being in a securely attached relationship It turns out that being in a securely attached relationship to another person in your 80s is protective. That the people who are in relationships where they really feel they can count on the other person in times of needs, those people's memories stay sharper longer. And the people in relationships where they feel they really can count on the other one, those are the people who experience cellular memory decline. And those good relationships don't just protect they don't have to smooth all the time. Some of our octogenarian couples could bicker with each other day in, day out. But as long as they feel that they could really count on the other when the gun got touched, those arguments didn't take a toll on their memories. So, this message that's good for our health and well-being. This is wisdom that's zoned at the hills. Why is this so hard to get and so easy to ignore? Well, we are human. What we really like is a quick fix, something we can get that'll make our lives good and keep them that way. Relationships are messy and they are complicated in the hard work of tending to family and friends. It's not sexy or glamorous, it's also lifelong, and it never ends. The people in our 75-year study who were the happiest in retirement were the people who had actively worked to replace workmates with new playmates. Just like the millennials in that recent survey, many of our men, when they were starting out as young adults, really believed that fame and wealth and high achievement were what they needed to go after to have a good life. But over and over these 75-year our study has shown that the people who fared the best were the people who leaned into relationships with family, with friends, with community. So what about you? Let's say you're 25 or you're 40 or you're 60. It might be something at what might lean into relationships will look like. Well, the possibilities are practically endless. It might be something as simple as replacing screen time with people time, or living in purposeful relationship by doing something new together. Long western date night, or reaching out to that family member who you haven't spoken to in years, because those all too common family feuds take a terrible toll on the people who hold the guitars. I like to close with a quote from Matt Twain. More than a century ago, he was looking back on his life, and he wrote this: "There is a time, so precious life, for bickerings, apologies, heartburnings, and calling to account. This is only time for loving, and but an instant so big. For that, the good relationships is built. The good life is built with good relationships." Thank you.